Hello, Stacy. How are you? And thank you very much. Okay. Who's that? Paul? Hey, Paul. How are you? Okay, let me warm up a little bit. Okay, Robert, how you doing? Robert, Stacy, and Paul. Good. Anything that you guys want to do today, we're going to do from the syncopation formulas, or anything else in particular you have any questions on? How to hold the drumsticks? Hey, Seth, how are you? Okay. Any requests from the West? Okay. Any rudiments of the day? You lost the connection. Well, you're back. It's been funny lately. I guess the server had to put its mask on. Any request? Paul? Absolutely. The first 20 pages, first off, it's a stepping stone towards the rest of the book. Like I said yesterday, there's so many people who don't understand how to take a line that's written straight up and down, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and swing it. Well, we solved that problem with this. I wrote the left-hand side figure straight up and down and wrote out how you play it swung. Now, once you understand that, you can do anything you want with that. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let's go to page 1. Or not 1, what was it? Page 2. Okay? Now, page 2, you take the one figure. 1 and 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you know how to read that. Then we swing it. 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now you say it could be applied to the jazz pattern. Of course it can. It's written out in one of the pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No problem. Or the triplet fill-ins. You understand how it's swung. Or the triplet roll. So on and so forth. Well, you could do that. You're playing quarter notes with the bass drum, 1, 2, 3, and your left hand was playing eighth notes. Well, that is a vamp. Is that what you're doing, Paul? Is that what you're talking about? I was practicing by playing quarter notes with the bass drum and eighth notes with my left hand. So you're playing quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's what you just said. You should be doing that all the time. 2, 2, 3, 4. That's the vamp. No, it says here, I was practicing by playing quarter notes with the bass drum and eighth notes with my left hand. So you're playing quarter notes with the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And you're playing eighth notes with your left hand. That's what you just said. Is that what you're talking about, Paul? You played the jazz pattern. Well, if you open up, all right. I'm confused. Let's not do a Jimmy here now. You played the jazz pattern against the syncopation exercises. Well, that's what you should do. If you go to page, Ingedabanga. Go to page 118, 117. No, 118. No, that's not it. Sorry. Go to page 120. Sorry, 120. Everybody on page 120? Let me know when you're on 120. I forgot you guys don't have the book, you have the PDFs. Paul. So, in example number 1, only the left hand strike was on the duh of the 1, and the quarter note was my bass drum. We're working with the syncopation formulas. Everybody go to page 120. Syncopation formulas, 120. Yes, the new book. Ingedabanga. I hate this delay. It really is driving me crazy. Syncopation formulas, page 120. Why were the quarter notes with your bass drum? You're playing Paul, you're playing such a different exercises. And that exercise is not in the book, but it's called long and short. Short would be the eighth notes, and long would be the quarter notes. Okay. Stick control. Everybody have page 120. Syncopation formulas. Paul, what page are you talking about? So in example 1, is that? I'm confused here, Paul. All right, I'm going to go to the beginning of the book, example number 1. Is that okay with you, Paul? All right, example 1, example 2. Okay, here, let me explain it a little bit different. All right, if you're on page 1, I make the difference between straight up and down, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to interpret that swung, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, that's the interpretation. Now what I've done with page 2 is on the left-hand side, I gave you a straight up and down figure, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Then how to swing it, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm getting from your statement there, Paul, you're playing the bass drum, you're playing the jazz time, and you know you're not incorrect, because you see what happens, you have long and short. Do you know what I mean by long and short notes? Okay, that's the long and short. That's what it is. If you take the first exercise, number 1. If you're going to play it long and short, yes, the bass drum is on 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything other than anything else on other than 1, 2, 3, 4 is played with the bass drum. This is how you did it, Paul. 1. All right, that's good. That's long and short, but that's not, all right, it's not in the book. I didn't write that. Hey. Everybody go to page 120. Por favor. Ding-a-boom. Everybody let me know when they're on page 120. Now that's nice that you took that incentive, Paul, and you played the figure between the bass drum and the snare drum, but you kept the rule that you said all long notes are going to be with the bass drum, all short notes are going to be with the snare drum, which is cool. That's good. But that's not what that was. Okay, so if you go to 120, everybody go to page 120. Yeah, we are. All right, go to 120, Paul. You didn't take the lesson on. You asked a legitimate question. All right, we're going to go to page 120. The left-hand side shows you the syncopated figure. 1 and 2 and 4. That's a syncopated figure. Now, what I'm asking you to do, this is a preliminary to start freeing it up. Your bass drum is on 1, 2, 3, 4. Your hi-hat is on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, and you're playing a jazz time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're playing the syncopated figure now against with the left hand. You got that? You're on 120? Okay. Now everybody see what I just did with 120? You got to learn how to play the time first, and you're playing the melody line now with the left hand only. You're not making any sense today, Paul. Yeah, well, that's the long and short, but that's not what, it's good that you took the incentive to interpret it that way, but that's not what's there, Paul. If I'm playing, well, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That's not wrong. You're right. You're keeping the jazz time. But now you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to take all long notes, which are the quarter notes, and play them with the bass drum. All the short notes, which is either it's the dub, the triplet, is going to be on the snare drum. And that's fine. That's just another way to do it. But I'm trying to keep the sequence going inside of the book, trying to explain it. If you go to page 120, the first thing you want to do, before we get ahead of it like that, Paul, is be able to play the jazz time. Straight ahead. Bass drum, 1, 2, 3, 4. Left hand, hi-hat 2 and 4, and the ride cymbal pattern. Now I take the line and I play it against the time. 1, 2. Do you understand that, Paul? On the snare only. The bass drum is laying down. You're feathering in the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left hand. That's what it is. Now, it's fine that you did the long notes bottom, the short notes the top. That's fine. You're distributing the melody line between the bass drum and the snare drum. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Now 120. Everybody on 120? You sure, Paul? If there's only, in the measure, there's only one top, which would be the da of the three that you're talking about. All other notes are going to be played with the bass drum. See, if there's only da of 3, here, let me do this. You can play the bass drum 1, 2, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to add the da with the left hand. 3, 4. 1, 2. So I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you were doing, Paul. That's all right. Don't get confused. Like top is the eighth note. Anything other than the triplet. Like I'm playing 1, 2. If I play this, you're doing it. It's absolute. It's creative. You took the initiative to say, okay, I'm going to play all the long notes with the bass drum, all the short notes with the snare drum. Does everybody understand what Paul and I are talking about? Long notes and short notes? Everyone understand it? Because we should be on page 120 now. My approach is to teach you how to play that feather in the bass drum 1, 2, 3, 4, the hi-hat 2 and 4, the ride cymbal playing the straight ahead jazz pattern, and the snare drum is playing the melodic line. The melodic line on page 120, the first one would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So now I'm playing nice and easy. You got to learn how to play it this way first before you can take it to the moon. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to play, I'm feathering that bass drum in. Remember we talked about that? Now I'm going to play the left hand. 1, 2. Do we understand that? Yeah, that's right. The long note would be the whole note, the half note, and the quarter note. The 16th notes and the 8th notes are the short notes. You could play it reversed, or you could play it that way that Paul mentioned. It's not a problem. Do we all understand this before I continue? I want to go to 120. We're on the first line. We're going to go to the second line. That's going on. Now you're going to have the solo hand play the melody. That's your left hand, line 2. Very good, Seth. That's it. Nobody's replying. Are we on page 120? Oh. All right, forget the book. No response. Okay. The workbook, the Shafee book. Now you're on 120. Seth is on 120. Dennis is on 120. Go over to the left side. Okay, good. Thank you for responding. 120. What you want to do, and it just seems that there's some understanding about how to read. And it's my fault as well, trust me. I'm assuming everybody that's in here today knows how to read well. I'm not talking about reading the chart for a big band. I'm not talking about reading some odd time signatures with all kinds of dynamics. I'm not talking about that. You should be able to open up the syncopation book, perhaps any of the pages, and read it down. Whether it's straight up and down, it's swung, or whatever. You should be able to read it on one surface. If you look at 120, you want me to go over to the left-hand side. Again, I'm going to explain this is in the beginning of the book, the difference between straight up and down and swung. Now, if I go over to the left side of this page on 120, everything on that side is swung. I wrote it out for everybody so you can see it. As opposed to, am I right, am I wrong, is that, that kind of thing. So I wrote it out. So you look at line 1, it's swung. I'm going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The first note is a quarter note. That's equal to 1 and the. The second note is equal to a quarter note, 2 and the. Now, on the count of 3, you have a triplet, but there's a rest on the second note of the triplet. So I'm going to do 3 and the. And on the count of 4, there's another quarter note, 4. So now I'm going to play it in tempo, slow. 1 and the, 2 and the, 3 and the, 4 and the. 1 and the, 2 and the, 3 and the, 4 and the. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a page from the syncopation book tonight. Everybody who's in the chat here, do we all have the syncopation book? It's simple, Dennis. It's all mathematics. You can't pick up the sticks and try to play everything real fast. You have to, if you don't understand it, break it down mathematically and play it slow. After you complete it slow, you're going to start to understand it better. And the more experience you get with reading stuff that's syncopated, this is a piece of cake. So tonight, everybody here has the syncopation book. Dennis has it, Seth has it, Paul has it, Robert, Hoist. What about you, Stacy? I thought I was doing everybody a favor here, showing you the straight up and down and writing it out swung rather, so you could see it. Stacy, do you have it? The syncopation book? All right, we're going to work at it tonight, 7 o'clock. And I'm going to show you what I did from the syncopation book and took it to this book. Like I don't know, maybe I'm not communicating correctly, but what I said, over the years of all my teaching, guys say, I went through the syncopation book 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. Or, yeah, I know how to play the syncopation book. You open it up to a page, you say, all right, swing it. They have no idea of what I'm talking about. That's why this is written. That's Ted Reed. That's the syncopation book. All right, everybody have it at 7 p.m., please. And we're gonna take a page. I don't know which one yet. I'm gonna fool you. We're gonna take a page. We're gonna play the whole page on one surface, straight up and down. I'm gonna do it slow, and then we're gonna take the same page and swing it. Now, you see a figure in one of the measures. It's in this book. It's written out, so you understand it as a reference. That's why I did what I did. Ted Reed. Okay? Now, the Mike Clark book, we will have that yet, or, I mean, I want to introduce you to, besides his new publication, his first publication. And then you don't need to go buy it, because I think it's out of print anyway. I'll send some PDFs. That's about funk drumming, and this one is about jazz drumming, his newest publication. We're going to start to work from there too. I got to keep the lesson in order, because I feel like I do 40 minutes, a half hour, 40 minutes. I haven't accomplished anything. You're here to learn, and the questions are totally legitimate, but try to make them a little bit clearer when you're putting them in the chat. You know, you're only playing 1, 3, and 4 with the bass drum. You're only playing or 1, 2, and 4, and you're only playing the dun, the snare drum on 3. I don't know what you mean by that, but you're right. So that's my misunderstanding, trying to get into the communicating with that, and it's not a problem, Paul. That is most definitely a good question, and it's the long and short, and I'm going to show you how to do it tonight. You have his new book. How about the syncopation book? You have the syncopation book? So everybody here has a syncopation book. We're going to work out of this syncopation book. Okay? Is there anything that you want me to go over before before I close up? I'm just a little bit frustrated right now, and I apologize. And I think it's not anybody here, it's the delay in the chat. That's what it is. You know, I asked a question 15 seconds ago, and I'm still talking about something, and I get a response, and I forgot what I asked. And that's my fault, not your fault. And it's the internet. So, Paul, I need to know, do you have the Ted Reed syncopation book? Yeah, you have Mike's latest one. So, you have Mike Clark's books. All right, good. Very good, Paul. Okay, so I'm going to take a page tonight from the syncopation book. And we're going to work it straight up and down and swung. I don't want to get into cut time because what I want to do with the cut time is when, I have a few people come in here. Stacy is one of them, Seth's another one, coming at the end of June. I'm going to explain the cut time to them in person. I'm going to draw it out so they understand it better. It's not fair to everybody else, but once they do understand, you have softball tonight. Okay, Paul. You only printed out 12 pages. That's okay. We're not going to use the syncopation formulas tonight. We're just going to use the syncopation book tonight. You do have that. That's not a problem, Robert. All right, you watched the video, Paul, and I'm assuming everybody here is subscribed to my YouTube channel, correct? If you are, you get a notification that I'm live. Okay? Now, I have to calm down. It's my fault. It's not your fault. Okay? It's not that I'm impatient. You have to understand, if there's a delay, I ask a question, and 15 seconds later, I get an answer to the question I asked 15 seconds ago. And in the meantime, before that question does come back into the chat, I asked another question, and it's very difficult for me to comprehend everything that's going on that way. Okay? But the questions are totally legitimate, and I will try to help and answer all questions that you give me. So everybody has the syncopation book, and that's where we're going to start tonight. All right, it's too late right now to get into anything new, so we're going to have a longer lesson tonight at 7 p.m. All right, and I do expect a tremendous amount of questions in the chat. Robert, Paul will watch it later. Stacy has the book. Hoist, Robert, who else? No new people today. Okay. I guess they think I suck. Dennis, Seth, you all have it, right? All right. And I'll bring also have your syncopation formulas as well, and I'll show you what I did. how I presented it from the syncopation book and expanded on it. Okay? And I'm gonna close it up. I'm gonna get some lunch. And I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. I'm a little cranky. And I apologize. And I will see everybody tonight at 7 p.m.